Halftime TV viewers and subscribers, and we have some updates for you as we did yesterday with the Jamaican or the Reggae Boys who were playing in the English Championship. Now today it's a little bit different because the players who were playing in the English Premier League, so the English top flight, that's where our update is coming from. So before we go any further, smash the like button, subscribe to Halftime TV if you haven't yet done so. We have Carifta action coming up a little bit later on this evening as well, so stay tuned for that. All right, so where do we start? So much football. Right, let's start with Mikel Antonio, his West Ham United team. They played against Newcastle, and Mikel Antonio got on the score sheet to level the game in the first half. Proper goal from Mikel Antonio, and we know there were doubts coming into this one because he had to pull out of the latest Reggae Boys squad that played in the Nations League because of injury. So as Reggae Boys fans, we were sitting, we were paying attention, we were wondering if it was actually going to be playing come this morning, but he was in fact there, and he was in fact on the score sheet. So it's good to see Mikel Antonio back to his best again. Anxious to see, because he has had challenges with injuries this season. We just hope that when it's time for him to represent Jamaica, those injuries kind of cut him some slack. Last time out against Canada last year, I think he played the first game against Canada and then had to pull out. He had to be substituted in the first game that was played at the National Stadium because of injury. He then left and went back to England to be assessed by West Ham United physios. So Mikel Antonio, in his game against Newcastle United, got on the score sheet. However, that wasn't enough because West Ham United lost by 4-3. West Ham United's recent form has been a little bit suspect, but I think it's one of those days. It's as a matter of fact, it's one of those days for football in general. We'll move on to Bobby Reid and his Fulham FC. So Fulham was up against Sheffield United, and Sheffield United is at the base of the table. So they're rock bottom. Coming into this game, Fulham was always going to be the favorite. We expected Fulham to come away with all 3 points, but they found themselves 3-1 down. So Fulham had to come back. They had to fight back from behind to actually get something from this game. And Bobby D. Cordova Reid with the game at 3-1. He scored in the 86th minute. Fulham would later on go on to draw that game 3-3. So it's an interesting sequence of events, especially for the footballing fans. And I think just looking at that game, Fulham against Sheffield United, and we're back to the table. We're back to saying this is why the English Premier League is one of the most interesting leagues anywhere. It's why English Premier League is one of the most competitive leagues on the planet. So Bobby D. Cordova Reid getting on the score sheet and basically invigorating his team to go on to get a draw from that game against Sheffield United. Now we're over to Aston Villa and Leon Bailey. So Leon Bailey is the Aston Villa team. They came into this game knowing that if they won, they were going back into the top 4. Tottenham, they won a little bit earlier, so the onus was on Aston Villa really to get a win from this game, and that's exactly what they did. Wolves, depleted Wolves squad, missing Cunha, missing Huang, along with a couple others. Neto, we know he's out for the rest of the season. But Aston Villa coming into the game were the heavy favourites. The only question mark was basically how much they were going to win by. I think a lot of those who were predicting the results of the game, they had Aston Villa to step away 3-1 as it relates to their victory margin. But it was still a 2-goal deficit. The game ended in the end 2-0. And I must say, Leon Bailey played a pivotal role in that first goal in particular. From a set piece, ball came over. And we know Aston Villa, they've been doing well from their set piece variations this season. Leon Bailey got the cutback. I think in the end, he didn't get the assist, but he definitely should have. They should have cut him some slack for the assist. But he was the one who actually cut it back for Moussa Diaby to get his shot off. And that set Aston Villa on their way. In the end, it was Aston Villa 2 because they ended up scoring again through an audacious chip by Ezri Konsa, which basically went over the goalkeeper's head and came off the post and then off Duran and ended up in the back of the net. So Leon Bailey's Aston Villa, they won 2-0 over Wolverhampton. Leon didn't last the full I was going to say the full 90 minutes, but he actually came off at 95 minutes. They had 9 minutes of stoppage time, but Leon didn't play for the entirety of the game. He made it through 90 minutes. I know of late we've seen a number of games, even when he's been doing well, he's been substituted in the 70th minute or the 68th minute, that sort of thing. The good thing is today's game, we had both Diaby and Leon Bailey starting in the game, which made it a little bit different because 9 out of 10 times, Diaby is the one coming from the bench to replace Leon Bailey, or vice versa, Leon Bailey coming on to replace Diaby. So it's good to see that those two can actually play together, and it means that Unai Emery has options now when it comes down to variation, playing his attacking players. We mentioned all the guys that were in action today. We mentioned all the reggae boys who were playing today, Leon Bailey, Bobby Reid, Mikel Antonio. But let me say, the Jamaican who took the weekend in the top flight was Khadija Shaw. Yes, you heard it. Khadija Shaw scoring twice as her Manchester City team. They went on to plummet Liverpool 4-1. What this means is Manchester City, and this is in the WSL, Manchester City are now top of the league with Chelsea hovering over their shoulders with still a game to play. So when Chelsea plays, Chelsea will have the opportunity to basically go back atop the league. I think the goal difference now is like 1. There is a single goal difference between both teams, but they've been neck and neck all season. We know Chelsea's been doing exceptionally well in the WSL, the likes of Lauren James and Sam Kerr. All these women have been showing out for their respective, for the Chelsea team. But Khadija Shaw has been the main person for Manchester City. And again, her brace today earned her player of the match. And I think she deserves the Jamaican player of the weekend in the English top flight. But I'm curious to hear what you, the viewers and subscribers, have to say. What's your standout performance from the Jamaicans in action? As this video is named, it's a goal rush because we got so many goals. I must say, I personally was impressed by the quality of some of the goals that were scored this weekend as well. But for the Jamaicans, the Reggae Boys in particular, Bobby Reid, his team still clear of the drop zone, obviously. I think they're in 12th place, Mikel Antonio, West Ham. I think they're in 7th, Leon Bailey's Aston Villa. They moved up to 4th place, and as of now, their Champions League hopes are still alive. Unai Emery said there's still a lot to do. He said in his press conference yesterday he won't get his hopes up as it relates to Champions League football because there's still a lot more work to be done with his Aston Villa team. But I'm one who like to think a little bit more on the optimistic side. And I think this Aston Villa team and the form that they're in now, they can actually get top 4. Big shout out to all the players who've been giving their all for their respective clubs coming from international duty, because we know it can be extremely tedious. And as I said before, it's one of those weekends where you didn't want to take your eyes off the television. Khadija Shaw is my player, or my Jamaican player of the weekend. But let's hear who you have as the top Jamaican player of the weekend. And again, this is opinionated, so you can't have not because the player scored, that player has to be your player of the weekend. We have a lot of players who did well, who didn't get on the score sheet as well. So let's hear it. We did the championship yesterday. We did the EPL and the WSL today. So I'm curious to hear what you guys are thinking. Leave it down in the comment section. And remember, keep those comments coming in. Keep those views coming in. Halftime TV saying, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Will it be Leon Bailey? Are you thinking Leon Bailey? Are you thinking Khadija Shaw? How about Bobby D. Cordova-Reid? Don't forget Mikel Antonio as well. So many options, but I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. Until next time.
Thanks for watching Halftime TV. This is Leon Bailey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.